I hope everyone's day is off to a little better start than mine, as I had lost my internet for the last 2 hours. So I'm excited to actually see people. And let's get back into where we left off yesterday about planning, right? So if we start thinking about planning, let's take out our calendars and think about how to work backwards, right? So I'm going to share a blank calendar now, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. Hold on. Calendar. All right, so can everyone see a calendar? So first thing you're going to want to do is plan out your personal time, right? So if you have a significant other, I would suggest doing this with them, right? Don't do this alone and then go share your great plan with somebody else, because that doesn't really feel great for the other person. Number two, if you have kids, I suggest sitting down and having your kids being involved in this process with you. It will be really helpful to, number one, have them engaged in the process. And more importantly, number two, have them understand what's going on, right? Like if you explain, like, these are the times that we're spending together as a family, this is where mommy or daddy works, right? It's a way of having them learn how that balance and everything is, right? So if you think about it, those are your big blocks, like the things that are really important to your life, any vacation, anytime you want to have off. As I shared with you guys a couple of weeks ago, when I went away on this mastermind retreat, one of the things that I became most present to was how much you can really do in one day if you plan it, right? It's like 5:30 yoga, 7 a.m. breakfast, 9 o'clock, we're pushing kayaks across the lake. We came back, we did steam, cold therapy, saunas. Then we walked up and down this hill. Then we had lunch. Then we went on a boat. Then we went cliff jumping. Then we came back and everyone kind of just decompressed. And there was dinner, and then there was live music and a band. And that was all in one day, right? So if you think about it, the number one detractor to all of your days are this: it's your cell phone, right? And if you look at your screen time, you have to realize, like, where'd the day go? It went on your phone. We're spending hours on these devices every day, right? So then that's your personal life. Now let's start talking about work, right? We all need to catalog all of the questions that our clients are asking us. Should I wait? How come I'm not getting the prices from last year? All of these different things that people ask, we need to catalog and organize them so we have them, right? Why is it important to have them? Number one, you can ask me and I'll answer the questions for you. Number two, you need to know what to practice. So the second thing you're going to want to do is every week, right? Figure out what you want to learn. Are you someone that could master skill on how to have a conversation a week, 2 weeks, or a month? And then you're going to catalog here, high level, what you're going to learn. Make sense? Number three, I want you guys to make sure that you write in here that you contact 5 people you know every day. So if you look at the end of this month, if you do those 3 simple things, right, you'll have 20 or more meaningful conversations with people that you know. You'll have mastered 1 or more skills, and you'll have set aside time for your family and the people that matter the most to you. Can we all do those 3 things? All right, now here's the $1 million question. What are you going to do with all the other hours in the day? Because there are a lot of them. Right? So as I promised yesterday, Brooke dropped a link to your chart again in the chat. Who wants to practice having this conversation about interest rates? 2 people. And we'll give you guys some live feedback. Should I start playing the Jeopardy music, David? All right, somebody has to volunteer. Like, this is just crazy at this point. I'm gonna just start calling on people. Oh, I hear one. Who unmuted themselves?
That was me, Chirag. Sorry. I wasn't volunteering. I was just ready to sing the Jeopardy music.
Oh, okay. All right, let's see. Irene Cook, how about you? I'm going to ask you to mute yourself.
All right, so full disclosure, I joined late, so I didn't even hear the question. I'm happy to help, but
that's okay. You could be the buyer.
All right. What is this?
So the scenario is we're talking about raising interest rates, right? So I'm going to pull up this chart right here so everyone can just see.
Mm-hmm.
1 second. So we want to understand how to have this conversation. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay. So if you look at this, the cost of $1 million borrowing in January is $4,200. And today it's $5,600, right? So what we want to do is be able to effectively role play this conversation. So people are asking several different versions of this, right? Should I wait for prices to come down? Or the sellers will drop their prices, right? Or the rates will go down later. It's a variation of one of the three of those. So we ultimately want someone to be a buyer and someone to be an agent, and now use this chart to guide the person in the conversation without vomiting in information on them or telling them like the taboo words of, don't worry, these are still historically low interest rates.
Okay, I'm ready as the buyer.
All right. So it's like, remember Gladiator? Gladiator ready, competitor ready. All right, Ian's game, but he'll have lots of background noise since the parents. Okay, Ian, we'll open the doc for you.
Okay.
And I'll hit share. If there's no background noise, you're good.
Yeah, it'll be in and out. It's kids and miscellaneous, having breakfast.
That's all right. Okay. All right, Irene, you could throw him the objection.
Okay, so I mean, based on what's going on in the market and interest rates, don't you think we should be like offering like 10% less on this price of this home?
What's the scenario? She's a buyer or she's a seller?
She's a buyer.
Okay. Well, and I guess all of our markets are going to be a little different, but in New York City, well, the prices haven't really gone down. Interestingly enough, the number of options out there hasn't really gone up because a lot of people are stuck in their homes and they don't want to move. The only people that are moving are the people that have to move because they're in a good position with 2 to 3% interest rates. So a lot of people aren't moving. So the number of options for people to buy hasn't gone up. So because of that, demand is still pretty good. And that has kept the price pretty consistent and they're not really going down as of yet. Do I think they're maybe going to go down a little bit? Yes, I do. However, along with that, the interest rates are expected to continue to rise as the Fed is expected to raise the rates 2 to 3 more times this year. So waiting is a gamble, is the summary.
Okay, so ready? Let's all pause and we'll do this. What's that show style? Well, Ian, thank you for being a volunteer.
Sure.
How did you feel as you were saying that, Irene?
I felt like I was a buyer who is becoming disillusioned, even more so than where the market has been. So I think that one of the things I'm experiencing is the buyers in the metro markets where we're still seeing not enough inventory and so forth, and the interest rates have gone up. The inventory has not come consistently with it, and what we're experiencing with buyers is buyer fatigue that is now exhaustion. Right? You're seeing buyer fatigue, like, oh my God, I put so many offers in, and now the interest rates are going up. What else? Yeah.
Couple different things, right? She had gave a statement and Ian had shared a lot of information, right? A lot. Now, remember, our keys to an effective conversation is always their choice. Did he present her with questions and a choice and kind of walked her through the chart and had her come to the conclusion that it was a bad idea to do it? I need to learn to ask questions. Yeah, but this is exactly why we do it, right? So now I can give you specific feedback, Ian, because you were brave enough to volunteer. The first thing that I would ask is, okay, so you feel that putting, excuse me, I would say to you, Irene, so based on what I'm hearing, you believe that based on the fact that interest rates have gone up, sellers will start to consider taking less than 10% less on their homes.
Correct.
That's what I would ask her.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And then I would go back and I'd say, okay, look, let's explore that, right? And let's look at the market through the eyes of your goals and your expectations. And let's see. And then I would go through the comps and I would say, look, if you were looking at these comparable home sales, right? And what other buyers are willing to pay for homes, would you take 10% less for yours? And what do you think Irene's going to say?
Nope.
No. So then I would say, well, the real question is this: does it make sense for you to home now? So Irene, one of four things could happen. We could review the market again and where the rates are currently and the economics in them, and it might make sense to you. And at that point, you'll go full steam and we'll purchase a home together. The second one is you could decide that unless the perfect home comes on or prices go down significantly, that you'll decide to wait. The third one is you can stay where you are, which is always an option. Or number four, we could look at different rental options. Either one of those is okay, and I want to support you 100%. Now, if we were now going into the conversation, where would we be?
In a place where the buyer felt that they were in control instead of losing always.
Yeah.
The buyer's response is going to be their choice.
Exactly. So I did this example yesterday, and I'll fast track the whole process of doing this. But the difference between a 4.5% and a 5.5% interest rate is $647 or $611, I believe it was yesterday, right? So what we want to do is isolate the decision. You're going to say, look, in the last 45 to 60 days, this is what we know. And I would ask you this, Ian, I would say, Ian, have the Feds indicated that they're going to continue to raise interest rates? And they're going to say, yes. And then you're going to say, is it safe to say that we should get an understanding of how much a price would have to go down to reflect the change in an interest rate? And what are you going to say, Irene?
10%.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is that actually the metric? That was my assumption for a metric.
It actually depends. For $1 million, from 4.5% to 5.5%, it's 10.8%. So when you do it on a mortgage calculator, right? You show them $1 million, and then at 4.5%, you give them a payment. 5.5%, you give them a payment. You ask them a question. You have them take out their calculator and say, "What's the difference?" And they're gonna say, "All right, $611." You're gonna say, "Great." So what we want to identify, and we don't want to go all the way back to the beginning, right? We just want to say, this is a change over the last 45 to 60 days. And they're going to say yes. So what we're really looking at is number one, is a $611 change in payment economically still make sense for you? If the answer is yes, then this is what we need to look at. What do sellers need to drop the price to make up that $611? Because that's essentially what buyers are asking for, right? They're going to say yes. A $1 million home, Irene, would have to be $892,000. Do you think $1 million houses are going to become $892,000 houses anytime soon? Probably not. It's not indicated that way. There's not an over.
Yeah, not for the house that's priced correctly.
Take prices correctly out of it, there's still a limited amount of inventory. So generally speaking, for prices to go down, there have to be a surplus of demand and a deficit of people buying. So then people would have to be in a competitive scenario where they have to, you know, as they say, I used to say to my clients, listen, you know, it's unfortunate what I'm going to tell you, but it's the truth. This is a race to the bottom. Right. And when you have clients, you can write this line down. It works really well. Marina, you could use this one literally today for what you said, my clients getting alerts to price drops. I would say, yeah, as you see the prices changing, Marina, somebody's going to set the market, someone's going to follow the market, and someone's going to be left with the market. And you have to choose which one of those three you want to be. Right. The first one who makes the most aggressive cut in the beginning is going to set the market. The next group of people are going to follow the market. And then whoever's just sitting around is going to be left with the market. So what we want to indicate to a buyer is this: when you go through this whole exercise, right? Now you're at the point of like, all right, it's $611. I don't think a $1 million house is going to be is going to be $892,000. But what we do know is the rates are going to continue going up, right? And then you have the chart to show them that. So you're going to say the question is, which one of those four scenarios works best for you? And you just go through it with them. Because look, in the end, if they don't buy a house, that's fine. It completely is fine. Because you know what they're going to say? They're going to say they trust you because you are honest with them. Do people think real estate agents are honest? No. Because all of us are out there talking all this stupid stuff. Like, you should hear what people say about this. You should see every day on Instagram, I vomit when I see all these things that say interest rate historical lows. Right? For some of us, we've experienced it. For others of us, we've never experienced it. I was crawling on my dad's floor when interest rates are 18%. I don't know what that's like. So, do we all feel good about how to go through this conversation? David, I see you got some nuggets to add here. Go for it.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, regarding the conversation before, thanks, Ian, for volunteering. I think it's really important to recognize that when a person comes to you with some kind of a statement like that, they need to process it a little bit. Do you ever have an experience where you had to process something like, you know, the doctor says, oh gosh, you got cancer, and you need to like work your way through that a little bit, but the doctor's ready to like move on to what the treatment's going to be. And you're like, wait, slow down. Or the opposite, which is sometimes somebody wants to like take you deeper into something than you really want to go. No matter what, you need your own time to process that. And when someone comes to you right now, they're trying to work through their own concerns about what these changes mean for them, whether they're a seller or a buyer. And so as you talk through the issue, you need to give them a chance to process it. And so this is why we want to make it a dialogue rather than a monologue. Because if it is a dialogue, it gives them the chance to think about what they just heard from you, throw the ball back to you with some kind of a comment, and then you throw the ball back and forth, helps them work through it. Just like a conversation with the doctor about cancer, or imagine another case. You know, if a person comes to you and they live in a flood zone, and they keep telling you, like Marina just wrote in the chat, you know, did you hear about the floods in Shanghai? Did you hear about the floods in Beijing? Did you hear about the floods in Sydney? What are they saying? They're saying, I'm afraid one of these days it's going to be me because I live in a flood zone. That's why I keep mentioning to you about how all these other places are being flooded. They need some help to process this a little bit. And so you need to be highly sensitive to have some sense of how much processing they need to do and help them through it. That's why sharing with them the calculator and say, okay, so where do you see the rates going in the last 90 days? Well, they went from this to that, correct. And how did that affect the payments that are required for that particular house? Well, it went from this to that, correct. By engaging them in that give and take and that back and forth, it allows them to process it in a kind of a reasoning, analytical way. And by doing that, it may affect the concern or nervousness that they have. They may come to recognize at the end of that conversation that they do have options. No matter what the situation is, Chirag said there's 4 options here, and you get to choose. And I'm going to stick with you no matter which one you choose. That's very empowering for somebody who came into the conversation being nervous, feeling like they have no choice but to, you know, suck it up because the market's working against them. So not only are you dealing with the circumstance itself, and you might want to explain something about where the market might go, or where rates might go, or whatever, you still need to give them a chance to process through both the circumstance of the situation and how they feel about it. Doesn't mean you need to be their psychologist, doesn't mean you need to take on all of their worry and all that stuff. You just need to engage them and let them work through it in the way that they need to.
So a couple important questions in the chat. So remember, it's a process, not an event. This is David's phrase, not mine. Meet people where they are, right? What's true for you is true for you. These are all Davidisms that I live by and I share with people, and they make me sound smart, but they're all really his lines. So, as we go through this, are you telling buyers to wait until next year? Okay. I would show somebody that chart and I'm going to say, this is a projected rate hike based on what we know the next 6 months. And we know the Fed has indicated they're going to continue raising rates. So if you wait till next year, this is what it could potentially cost you, and then go through the inverse relationship of interest rate rates and price drops. So they understand, right? That's number one. Number two, Irene, should you ask, what are your concerns? What do you mean by that, Irene?
So what I mean by that is when somebody's talking about, they've got a lot of questions. So what are your concerns? Are your concerns that this is not the right time? What are your concerns? And you mentioned that you want to see the price going down 10%. What are your concerns? That it won't go down 10%, that it will go down? Talk to me about what's on your mind and what's your concerns.
Yeah, I would say, talk to me about what's on your mind, your concerns, and how did you get to that number of 10%? Right.
Yeah,
and what would that 10% number do for you?
So one of the things I've learned from you is that if you started off broad, right, and then you can get down to what's actually on their mind. And there was Marina's got an email going back and forth about a seller situation. And do you just ask, what are your concerns? So let's talk about this. What are your concerns?
Yeah. Look, when you start saying, what are your concerns, instead of just talking at somebody, it creates a very different atmosphere for the other person. It's a whole different conversation. David says, to meet the client where they are, you need to understand where they are. Asking questions helps you get there. Listen, the number one skill that you need in this market is learning how to ask the right questions. We did this webinar, come on at 12, we'll do it again, that went through this all. I talked to someone that's going to sign up for a playbook program. He's like, you know why I'm signing up? And I'm like, I don't know, tell me. He said, because your stuff actually works. I went to the webinar. I did exactly what you said. I made my own chart. And literally, as you said, the people would react like verbatim, they reacted. They're like, oh, that makes sense. You have to understand this. If somebody's brain's here and needs to get here, you can't start here and try to get them there. It is a process that you need to walk somebody through.
It's like telling somebody stop crying.
It's really interesting you say that. My daughter is very temperamental, and I have to sit down and I have to sit down and I have to sit down and I have to ask her, what's wrong? Why are you upset? What does daddy always say? Can we calm down? And if I'm just like, Valentina, stop crying, it's like a whole nother thing, right? Look, feelings and perception are really interesting things. When you feel something, someone can't tell you how you feel, right? So for people that are men on this conversation and married, imagine when your significant other's upset and you shouldn't be upset about that. Let me tell you how that goes. And for women, when men do this, you're just like, why can't you people just listen? And why can't you just ask us what we're concerned about? That is the antithesis of what this all really is. It doesn't matter what they choose to do, right? And Steffi, by letting people know that, those buyers that actually have a heart, that you spend hours and hours and hours of your time doing that, they'll continue to refer you people even while they go on the sidelines, because their experience is going to be that much different than everybody else. Yep. All right, I'm kind of sad. This is our last little GCI accelerator session, and look, as we continue to, well, it's now going to be a bigger group and different stuff, right? It's not going to, there're probably going to be a lot more than 25 people logically in some of these sessions in the morning. But look, before we sign off, I'm going to find a time for us to have another one of these just market conversations over the next couple of weeks, for just like, for as I'll say, for our original group, the OG group. And I just want to thank all of you, right? Over the last, I don't know, year or more for some of us, right? I've got to see you every day. I feel like I know you, I know your backgrounds, and I've got to learn so many unique things about all of you. And you guys show up every single day. And that's the most important thing. You keep showing up for yourself. You keep showing up for yourself, and you want to be better. So look, what I'm going to try to do is this. We are going to have some live business planning sessions in our office. So on one of the days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send the first invite out to all the people in this group, so that if for as many of you that want to come on that day, we can all do it together. Would that be cool? Right. So you can all come to our office. I have like some crazy Field of Dreams office being built. And when all my crazy ideas and dreams come to life, I can't wait to host all of you there. So it's going to be a really special space where half of it's like this event space. We have a podcast room, a cool conference room, and, really a place where people could really create whatever their dreams are, right? Like our view is like, we want to help everyone unlock their promise. So look, as this next part happens, there's just more stuff that we're adding on for you. There's different trainings. We have expert mentors. We have these monthly market updates where we're going to do this type of stuff once a month and make new videos for you. So it's pretty much what you have now and a whole bunch more, and there are going to be a lot more opportunities to network. So I just want to say thank you so much for always being here, being present. I love all the people that turn their screens on. You get like a double thank you from me. And look, let's all keep going through this together. Make sure you join the platform. Make sure you engage with other people. And look, you guys know more about how this all works than anyone else does, because you've been doing it with us for so long. So as new people come in and you meet new people, take the opportunity to build out your own accountability groups, role play groups, start building that referral network within here, right? And all of you should try to meet each other. Host your own little meetup, right? And for the retreat, we are going to have some form of party for all of our clients. I don't know what it is, but just we'll be sending out an email to get a head count of however many people, but we have a whole group of us that want to host some crazy event for all of us so that we can all meet each other. So stay tuned, and I will see you guys in Atlanta. I will see a bunch of you guys in my office, and there'll be a full day of business planning for anyone that wants to come. So thank you, everybody. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.